This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean, and Gareth Richards is with us today. Hooray! You can't text us, though, I'm afraid, because we're not live today. I'm sorry to admit that, but it's true. However, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or, of course, that old standby, you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Gareth.
Lovely to be here. Lovely to hear your voices.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Gareth should have been on tour with me earlier in the year and also at the moment, and now he's not going to be on tour with me until January, February. If he's still up for it, he may have retired. I don't know. He might have a different
January,
job.
February? I haven't been given any dates yet. Oh, that's good.
Oh, well, it's January, February. It starts on the 13th, I believe.
Or maybe you could do your admin, both of you, while we're
Do
mid-show.
diaries. We'll start doing diaries. And
I'm
then,
amazed. I'm worried now that the management have removed you and I've spoken out of turn.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's probably the case.
But
you can't
anyway,
take it back now. That's I consider that a formal booking.
No, I think that's fair enough. I'm prepared to stand by that. It's a bit like breach of contract when people used to, in the old days, would propose to women, and then if they changed their minds, I think there was some sort of legal comeback that you'd promised.
And if they didn't turn up, if you were abandoned at the altar, I believe a relative of my father's, they used to refer to it as her disappointment, which I thought was rather kind. She had a disappointment.
I've never been to a wedding where someone didn't turn up. But if any of our readers have, I'd love to know what that was like. Maybe you could tweet or Instagram it. Have you, Gareth?
No, my wife Laura calls me her disappointment.
Oh, well.
It's a coincidence.
When specifically does she call you that?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you that.
No, I thought not. Just started to get interesting.
You two are up to your old tricks again.
Yeah, I don't know how we got round to that, but there we are. So I tell you what, this very afternoon, I'm sorry I've said afternoon, but I've already given away that this isn't live. But anyway, I'll tell you what, I'll do it in a different way. I was watching the bit of daytime telly this week, having some lunch, and I saw a thing called Mystic Britain.
Ah.
Have you seen that? It's Fern Britain doing astrology.
Oh.
No, it isn't.
Oh.
No, it's about like, the Druids and things like that in Britain, and stones.
Yes.
These special stones.
Yeah, the standing stones.
Mm.
And it's presented by a woman I wasn't familiar with called Marianne O'Hotter, who is an archaeologist sort of person, the expert, and Clive Anderson, who's the genial co-presenter. And he did they found what they thought was a witch's grave, and he said, well, we don't, it could be a witch's grave, or it could be a grave of a very just a famous local woman.
Just a very evil woman. Could have just been an evil woman, not necessarily a witch.
And then he said, we don't know which. And she said, which I thought was fine. It's fine. Yeah. And then she said, see what you did then. Now, there's a couple of problems with this. First of all, anyone listening, never say any variation of I see what you did then, or did you see what... Never say that. It's a spiteful, destructive remark. It's fueled by jealousy that someone has done a joke that you could have done. And
which?
It's horrible behaviour. I'm sure she's a lovely woman. We all lapse, even Homer nods. But also, she said, see what you did then, as if she was asking him if he'd seen what he did. And that is not how it's supposed to be done at all. Of course he saw what he did. It was a calculated pun. And I thought to myself, I'm never watching this programme again. I was actually enjoying it. And honestly, that's it for me.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Oh, that was a great piece of music. I wonder what it was. This is the thing about recording remotely.
I see what you did then.
It wasn't even that, though. It was, see what you did then? Well, yes, I do see what I did. It was a pun on winch. Move on. Nothing to see here.
To Clive Anderson. Do you know, Clive, I think you just said something that was a joke. It was trying to be a witticism. Did you realise? Yes.
But Clive Anderson, who I like a lot, I've always got on very well with.
I
but
do.
he's very much a man who'll kill your joke if he can.
Oh, is he?
Oh, he's
Have
a
you had-
joke assassin. I'll tell you
you
what he'll
got
do.
previous?
He does that thing of taking a joke literally in order to undermine it. So I remember showing him a clip once, and there was an elk on it or something, and I sort of imposed a scenario on the elk's behaviour. And he said, no, I don't think it's doing that, blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
it's not
Killed
good,
it.
but I like him. I
So
don't like
what
that
was-
aspect of him.
What was
But I like the
Clive's
rest.
response to I see what you did then?
I'll tell you what, he took it very much like a bullied kid at school who just has got used to being treated like a doormat.
Right.
I felt sorry for him. Also, she slightly crashed even the punchline, which she then dissembled. She slightly crashed that. That was an accident, I think. But it was awful. Awful. Oh. Anyway.
How do you tell a witch's grave? What were the clues that it might have been a witch's grave?
The top of the thing is very pointed. The top of the grave where they lie.
Because the coffins normally have sort of a flat top, don't they? But this one has like a long pointed top.
Yeah, and there was a you know those cat travel cages? There was one of those in there. And she was soaked as well, absolutely soaked. So she must have been fresh from the donking. Yeah, it's this
She was a
donking,
dunked
isn't it?
witch. Either
Yeah, I
dunking or
wanted
burning.
to say donking, and then I thought, no, that's biscuits, isn't it? But it is witches as well. Just witches. What else do witches and biscuits have in common? If only you could text in today, that would be. I think we'd get hours out of witches and biscuits. I can hear Garrett's brain whirring and clicking now.
Can I ask you a question? What footwear do you associate with the witch? Because some go for the pointy shoe,
That's
but
a good
I
question.
I see them rather in a sort of clunky black sort of school
black,
shoe.
black with, buckles, where it's a square buckle on it.
Oliver no, it's a Puritan.
Yeah.
It's a bit
like
like
she's-
Gary Barlow on. You know those moments when one of the contestants was it Britain's Got Talent he did, or was it one of the others?
One of them.
But anyway, there's bits where the contestant gets upset or something like that, or has a breakdown, it goes wrong, and he would step onto the stage, and he often had a heavily buckled shoe. Yeah.
Clanking on, making it about him.
Saying like I'm rock and roll. I know what you're thinking, but I am still quite rock and roll.
I'm a pilgrim.
Okay.
It's a very good question, though. What footwear do you associate with a witch? Maybe a kitten heel to go with familiar.
Oh, Frank, it's not practical for them, the kitten. They
Couldn't
need
you
it.
hook that on the... Because I think of them very much drawing their feet up on the broom. They don't just let it hang down. It's not like a kid sitting on the side of a swimming pool. They draw them right up, and I wonder if you could hook them on with the kitten heel in some way.
Like on the motorbike. I see what you mean, yes.
The other reference
What they
I'm getting
need-
for witches' shoes is, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. What's that film that's gone out of my head? The Yellow Brick Road,
yes.
following the Yellow
Wizard-
Brick Road.
yes.
The Wizard of Oz.
I think you mean the Wizard
There's
of Oz.
witches, there's witches' feet in
There
that,
is
isn't
pointy
it? Crushed by a
shoes
house.
with pointy shoes with a stripy sock. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit Paloma Faith.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, has there been any news on the witch's footwear?
We have some, this is via Twitter, we've had some which I was expecting some of these.
Was that
I'll
upon
just
there?
check
I think
the
I
Mrs.
see what you did.
I'll just check the Mrs. Wardrobe, etc.
Oh.
Come now.
To be fair, not completely unfunny.
Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of them.
It's actually
Bob,
all right as a joke.
Yes. Bob says something with flat, square toes, which
Yes.
I think again is down the Puritan sort of theme, isn't it?
And when you land on a broomstick, that's why I think a good Cuban heel would be handy, because you can dig that into the soil to slow yourself down.
Oh, I don't want to witch.
When I say witch,
Cuban
is
heel,
I'm talking,
Frank.
Yeah, I'm talking traditional cauldron pointy hat cap broom. I'm not talking
green face.
people who are. I'm not talking like your contemporary witch who lives in Stroud. I'm talking about the classic sort of literary witch.
I don't want a Cuban heel.
Any other offers?
That's a bit Al Pacino. Daniel Knight, small black leather ankle boots.
Yeah, I think we've skirted around that, I think. You don't think Gary Barlow is some sort of warlock? Do you? That would explain, wouldn't it? Absolutely rising from the dead the way he did. It all seemed finished. You know, Robert Johnson.
And it would explain Robbie Williams' troubled life.
Yeah. Well, I think he's recovered now. I think he had a counter spell. From Jimmy Page, who of course lives in Aleister Crowley's house. So there's a lot of magic kicking around. I wonder if there wasn't some spell done by or to Gary Barlow which raised him back up from the grave, as it were, from the metaphorical grave. Interesting to know that, if anyone's got any info on that.
And Steffi says, if it's just a witch in poorly put together fancy dress, then any old trainers will do. Unless, of course, they visited an emporium specifically for fancy dress shoe hire.
Well, I mean, I remember Emily made a very good point about this, that some people really do brilliantly on fancy dress. And then if you keep looking down, often it's the shoes that's gone wrong.
Right. Yeah.
I favour those ones where, it isn't a shoe, but it's material with an elastic under strap that you strap over the top of your actual shoes. You know those ones?
Yes.
I like those because they never sit very well, and
there's something for Superman, because Superman wears boots, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So it'll just be a change in material colour from the calf, from blue to red, and then an understrap.
Indeed.
And
You've summed it up.
yeah,
What boots does Superman wear then? Are they red?
red.
Well,
red
yeah,
leather
they
boots.
were traditionally bright red. But
Like
I
the
think
child's
now,
wellies.
the way since cinema has taken over the superheroes, everything's a bit darker and looks a bit more like it's a bit leathery, rubbery, bulletproofy. It's what happens that comic books got snatched away from children and taken over by adults, and so everything's got to be dark. And it's a shame. I like the old. I like it all done without a growl.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So my partner and our child are away. So I've been on my own this week. And I don't know if you're aware of this, Gareth. I think Emily is. But during lockdown, I started doing the Joe Wicks workout.
Oh, Joe Wicks, yes. I've done a lot of Joe Wicks.
Yeah, I've persisted with it, I have to say.
Oh, well done.
I don't think it would be ridiculous to suggest that it slightly changed my life. Because I wasn't doing any exercise at all, and now I'm doing Joe Wicks 5 mornings a week. And even when they were away, if anything, I'd say I've been slightly cranking it up a bit in the privacy of doing it alone.
Right.
But I tell you, I've been doing it now since mid-March, like I say, every weekday. I've never ever enjoyed it at all. I don't think I have ever enjoyed exercise in my life. I enjoy it being over. But, I mean, it wouldn't be exaggerating to say that I hate it while it's actually happening. Is that normal?
Yes. I think so. Pretty
It's like
normal.
a yard of ale exercise. You know, if you can get through it, feels like a great achievement. But you don't enjoy a yard of ale. No. You don't say, well, let's meet up and have a yard of ale. You know, it's something you have to get through.
But do you enjoy it less, do you think, because it's feeling not as fun as a solo activity, whereas previously on ER you had Kath and Buzz to make it a bit more of a family fun thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't fun. I was still really, really glad when it was over. It's horrible exercise. You know, it hurts. It makes me feel a bit sick sometimes. And it's brilliant when I used to go. It's made me think about my entire exercise history. I used to go to the gymnasium. There was a period of about 2 years when I went to the gym. And the gym I went to, there were 3 mats for stretching, and I remember being on one mat, and Michael Palin was on a second mat, and Helena Bonham Carter on the third. So it was that kind of gym, you know. But I mean, they were nice. Sweaty and doing it properly. But I don't. I find gyms, like many people, intimidating and full of bullies.
And celebrities, by the sounds of it.
Well, yeah, the celebrities, I don't mind them.
Who was the bully, Michael Palin or Helena Bonham Carter?
No, I don't think either of those. I can't imagine. Actually, if only she was here now, if Helena Bonham Carter doesn't know what a witch wears on her feet, I'll go to the foot of our stairs.
You'll eat your hat, you were going to say.
She's not wearing it right now.
One of her purple velvet hats that she's probably got in her cellar. And I bet she's got a cellar. Did I tell you, I met her once in the street and she said, I think we're supposed to say hello, aren't we? In a fabulous, sort of slightly cynical approach to celebrity.
Or did she think she was halfway through a scene and had forgotten the script?
Oh, no. I see. In a way, I had forgotten the script of life.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if you're aware of this, Gareth. I also did the Charles Atlas course, which I occasionally mention on this show. I don't know. Is it still going? Does anyone?
I don't know. I don't know. I know Atlas. Is it like Atlas Gyms? Is that what that comes from?
It's a man called Charles Atlas.
Right.
And he used to appear in a pair of, I think they were like small briefs anyway, and revealing his amazing body. And he's the strap line. He had a strap line. Did I tell you that?
On the briefs?
Yeah, just above the brief. It had cut in quite a way. And it said, you too can have a body like mine. Not you too. This is obviously
not the Edge.
No.
He'll have to get up early in the morning for that.
But he's probably got a strap line under that hat.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
I was talking about my various exercise regimes, including Charles Atlas. Charles Atlas used to be advertised in things like comic books and magazines. And he had come up with a system called dynamic tension.
Right.
And it's one of those things that means nothing, but at the time sounded great. And I did the course, and one of the things you had to do was Milk Week, when you had to live on milk and nothing else for a week.
Really?
Which I had done before, but many years. Many years ago.
Yeah, because all those babies are really buff, aren't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, it takes time. And I also had a bull workout. Do you remember those?
Oh, yes.
A bull workout was like a big metal tube with two handles on the end, and you squeezed it. Well, one of the things you did was squeeze it inwards, or you could also sort of fire it like a bow, a long bow. You didn't fire it, And it was one of those things, if you weren't using it properly, it could fight back. So if you were stretching it and you let go, it would hit you quite hard. I don't know if you've ever tried nunchakas, but when I used to do nunchakas, that sort of Bruce Lee, when you swing 2 pieces of wood on chains around and around you very quickly.
Yes.
Charles,
I feel Alan Cochrane would have gone with this a bit more.
Tough room.
Nunchuckers.
Frank,
Nunchakas, yeah.
Charles Atlas, there was sort of, I seem to recall him being associated with sort of like almost comic strips of, hey, lightweight, you don't want to get thrown around on the beach and bullied.
Well,
Wasn't there something like that?
I think he pioneered the cartoon where a bloke gets sand, a thin man gets sand kicked in his face by a muscular man. You know that? I mean, it's become a cliche.
Sounds like you and Alan.
I think it was pioneer. But as I remember that cartoon, the last shot was the guy, the thin guy, saying, I need to do something about this. Obviously leading towards Charles Atlas's dynamic tension. But then you would see the big guy leaving with the woman. And I don't know, I despise that woman. Yeah. The idea that you'd think, I do like this guy. He is a nice guy.
You should never kick sand. Sand could blind somebody.
Also, she was
really
sitting
dangerous.
next to the guy. He could have blinded her as well.
Why don't they go the whole hog and show him throwing away a book and a university degree while they're at it, for pity's sake?
Maybe, looking back, maybe he had kicked sand into her eyes as well. And he was leading her off to the St John's ambulance. Is that possible? I don't know what the moral of that story is. But
it's not a good plan either, because that's not, I mean, you're not going to be a little skinny man and then a big man bullies you, and so you spend months and months putting on extra bulk and building muscle. You just poison. Just get some poison.
You could do that. I think, I like to think that somebody somewhere has been bullied and then bulked up and then dished out sweet revenge. I think that's basically what keeps me going.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean, and Gareth Richards is with us this morning. We were talking... Oh, sorry, I need to tell you the other stuff as well. I've completely... you can't text us this morning because we're not live, so please don't waste your money. But you can follow us at Instagram and Twitter at Frank on the Radio. And, of course, you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. It's beautifully done, that, wasn't it?
It's wonderful.
Slick. I could present Mystic Britain, I think.
Do you think Mystic Meg was upset she didn't get the call for that?
Well, she's a different kind of mystic, though, isn't she?
Well, they were digging up her grave. She's still around?
Oh, yeah, I think she's still around. I hope so. I know you've said that.
We featured her quite recently on the show. She got a name check. And
she's... who would you put in the list? Celebrity bangs.
Beg your pardon.
Beg your pardon?
You know, bangs, the haircut.
Oh, yes, fringes.
Well, it's a fringe and then it's a bit that comes... I think Josephine Baker... Did she have it? Have I got that? No, Louise Brooks. I got the wrong one. Louise Brooks was a star of the silent screening advert, and I think the lead singer with Swing Out Sister was
absolutely Corinne something. Yes, she did. She had bangs,
and also Mary Worsley.
Oh, she got bangs.
I'd say she's got bangs. Yeah.
Okay.
Celebrity bangs.
Celebrity bangs?
Let us have
I don't know if other people have committed to bangs. Some people have bangs sometimes, but not all the time.
I'll tell you who I'm thinking of as a bangs icon. Mary Portas.
Oh,
That is an excellent choice.
I love
Queen
Mary
Bangs?
Porter's.
Mm.
Queen
So,
of Shops. I'd love to meet Mary
sorry.
Porter's. I'd really love to meet Mary Porter's.
Could I just cite another... Oh, sorry. Sorry, you
I
tell
love
us...
her. I think she's
Well,
lovely.
we can't just leave it there, Em, can we? I mean, why
Yeah,
does
absolutely
Gareth
right.
want
I
to
mean,
meet Mary?
this is absolutely extraordinary.
Well, you know how I love shops. And she's
Well, it's
the
a
queen
bad
of
time
shops.
for you then.
Yeah.
I don't know what's she going to do. Is she going to do a show where she just does Amazon?
She needs to turn the whole economy around.
Well, I mean the high street.
Yeah. No, it's tough out
bad
there.
timing, Mary Porter.
You have to be positive, though.
She needs to retrain as something. That's
Mary,
my
Queen
advice.
of... Yeah.
Yeah,
I like her.
Oh,
She's
talking of shops, I don't know why if this is particularly relevant to that, but it's a tenuous link. But I encountered Gok Kwan this week, and I did a terrible thing, Frank, because I mentioned you, and I said, "Oh, Frank Skinner had a dream about you once," and he said, "Oh, what was it?" And then I realised it wasn't entirely positive, the dream, was it?
Well, I don't think it's anti-Gok. In case
Do you want
don't
to
know
remind
the dream,
me?
Briefly, I didn't actually have the dream.
Oh, you did. Yes.
What it was that I invented a program that I'd been
What is
offered,
it?
and I told my partner, this was on April Fool's Day. I told her I was doing a show with Gok Kwan in which I dressed in avant-garde outfits and walked around northern towns receiving comments. And it was going to be called "Why Are You Wearing That?" And she said, I think that might be the end of our relationship. I mean, with tremendous seriousness, not as a fool. She said, "You're just not the man I thought you were."
Oh.
And it went horribly wrong. So it wasn't actually a dream. It was.
Well, I know. I'm
joke.
glad I got it wrong. I had to fizzle out because I just had I thought I don't remember that the end of this story is as positive as I'd initially recalled.
Well, I think it would have been yes, because you don't want to say that my partner thought that working with Gok would. I don't think she was commenting on Gok. You know, she wasn't challenging his human essence. She just thought it wasn't the right show for me. Is what she thought. I think we've dug our way out of that.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were talking about the various forms of exercise. I've tried many ones, and I still have what I would call a sort of treasure island physique, in that I've got a sunken chest. And I don't think there's anything you can do about that as far as working out is concerned. Gareth, you look in great shape.
Thank you
last
very
time I
much.
saw you.
Yeah, I am. I think in lockdown, while I was doing Joe Wicks, the exercises, for a while, and I really liked that. Although I found he did quite a lot of bragging about how many people were watching and things like that. Did you find that, Frank?
That's what they do, though. The YouTube sensations.
The YouTube. It's like they have no one's told them to like humility.
No, I'd
Don't say your numbers all the time.
My partner, Kath, watches a few of these people, these personal trainers on YouTube.
These people. Prince Charles talking about royal reporters.
And they're quite haughty generally. Serious, stern people.
Yeah.
Whereas Joe, I think the reason I remember particularly warming to me, he did a 7-minute abs workout.
Oh, yeah, I've done
And
that.
at the end of it, I remember he said, it sounds stupid, but you wouldn't want to do any more, would you? And I thought, that's great from one of those people. And he does a lot of that. Oh, God, I can really feel that.
Yeah, and he does some like on a like a beautiful desert island, but where it's really hot. So it'll be too hot for him to do it. So I have to take his top off, and but he'll be really sweating by the end of it. I did join in with some of them.
I just did the PE lesson once. I didn't go tropical with him. I don't like the sound of it.
I run sometimes.
Do you?
What do you
On the
call it?
golf course?
Sometimes.
Pardon?
Sometimes. How often?
Well, when I was running, I haven't run for a while because I've been doing Joe Wicks in lockdown. And,
lockdown was how long
I've been
ago?
running,
2 months?
but probably once or twice a week. Trying once or twice a week, but that's if I'm running, and that means
It's not enough, Gareth.
you know what I mean, don't you? It's not very often.
You see,
Not enough.
my bête noire is when the personal trainer says, "Should we go for a run?" No, thanks. I'm paying for this. I can do that on my own. Show me something I
I
can't
think
do.
personal trainers, in my experience, when I used to go to the gym, mainly talk about when they were in Ibiza. That was all I ever heard them doing, really. They were doing stuff with people and really chatting about where they were going that weekend and stuff. And I don't want that when I'm exercising. Goodness me, no. I used to do a fitness thing with a woman who'd been the former Lithuanian Sportswoman of the Year.
Wow.
And she'd been one of those child gymnasts, who were tortured by, I think they had Russian coaches. And we used to roll a lot.
Wow.
Of course, I was a younger man. Do you know you know those foam rollers that you sort of lie on?
Yes.
Very, very painful indeed.
I never
have to roll them on your-
Sorry, Frank.
No, I was going to say you have to roll on your fascia. And I never completely found out what that was. But it's something just under the surface of the skin. If you get it right, it's excruciating.
I was just going to say, I never successfully navigated the medicine ball.
No, it's a terrible idea, the medicine ball. Where's the medicine in that? Painkillers, maybe. Solpadeine the next day. The good thing about the rolling, it gives you a little insight into how they built the Great Pyramid, which we all need.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Gareth Richards is with us this morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah. It's funny, we were talking about exercise because I was doing Joe Wicks, but then the reason why I stopped Joe Wicks is that I've started working and I got a temping job because, obviously comedy stopped, doesn't it? So you've got to do something. I've been working at the post office, sorting parcels.
Are you a front line? Are you not a frontliner?
No, I'm not. No, they don't let me anywhere near the public. That has been a theme of the jobs that I've had. When I worked at McDonald's as a teenager, they never let me near the public at the front.
Do they?
But no, I'm behind the scenes.
They don't deem you, I believe the phrase is client-facing, isn't it?
Yeah, and they don't let me face the clients.
They're not very client-facing, is what they say.
So
Sorry.
this was at the sorting office, was it?
Yes, Dorset Mail Centre, it's a big sorting office, and I've had 2 different jobs over my time working there because they needed lots of casual staff. Because it's been so busy in lockdown with everyone sending lots of stuff and having things delivered.
Mary Porter on Amazon stuff.
Yeah. And at first, when I started working there, I was really freaked out because basically no one was social distancing at all.
Oh, dear.
They said you can
This
have
was in the gold...
Yeah, this is in the height
Was this
of
in the
it.
golden age of social distancing? Oh, wow.
Yeah. And basically, people are just walking around. The only time they'd stop people, they'd tell people to social distance is if some of us casual people started talking in a clump. And then they'd say 2 meters. But the rest of the time, no one would be doing anything. And I thought, why aren't you social distancing? And then I worked there 2 months. And then I didn't want to live anymore either.
Oh, God.
No.
Because it's not a lot of fun. My 2 jobs were sorting parcels, and you basically have a big load of cages around you, like trolleys, cages, all with postcodes on, and then they give you some a cage of parcels. It's called work. I know it's the work. The job is called work, but when they bring it to you, they call it work. Oh, I'll go and bring you some work.
Okay.
Do you see?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
They bring the work, and then you throw the things into
Throw?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
now it's
this
all
was-
coming out.
This was the extent of the training I had. She said, look, this is your work. They see these cages. They've all got the pass. You look at the postcode and then do this. And she chucked the parcel as if to say, you have to chuck it. Don't worry about chucking it. We'll chuck it. So if anyone's sending any parcels through the mail, if it's got fragile written on it, that doesn't make any difference. You need to package things well. I think that's what I've learned from working at the post office.
Do you still work there by any chance?
I worked there last week, but I think
I'm slightly worried about you going back after these revelations.
I'm slightly worried about the chandelier I've just sent Kath.
Yeah.
I mean, for goodness sake.
Yeah, no, I hope you wrapped it up well.
That's it's good on you, though, for doing what I would call a proper job.
Yeah, no, it's been quite a shock to the system.
Yeah.
Did you meet nice people, though? You made some mates?
No,
Okay.
no, very grumpy men work at the post office. There have been some nice people, but it's mostly the other casual workers. We've forged friendships amongst ourselves, no, they basically, the training was, they said how to be safe with the Yorks. I didn't know that the Yorks was the name of the trolleys. So I watched a whole video talking about Yorks. I didn't know what it meant because I hadn't ever seen
I thought you meant the
York
Duke
yet.
of.
Isn't that
And
Prince
then-
Andrew? Yeah. That'd be a good health and safety video.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Often we get stuff about last week's show, responses. Has there been any of that?
We have. But do you remember, Frank, you were asking how you pronounced GIF? Because you were under the impression most people, the received wisdom was GIF. However, you'd heard that it was actually GIF. Is that
Yeah, I
right?
think this might have been Alan, but it was certainly mooted that the correct pronunciation was GIF, which is one I'd never heard
Well,
before.
Declan
Except
has
on
got
Shrove Tuesday, obviously.
Declan has got in touch. Just FYI, in 2005, I attended a tech conference in San Diego, or maybe Comdex in Vegas. I like the way he does that. He sounds like he knows his way around that whole area, if you know what I mean.
Doesn't it?
That period in life is a bit of a blur.
Oh yeah, the tech conferences, they get pretty
yeah.
rowdy, don't they? You know, the old computer conferences.
It was about 15 years ago. As I sat through the graphics presentation, the keynote speaker was the creator of the GIF product and image format. He opened by saying the most frequently asked question he gets daily is, what's the correct pronunciation for GIF? He clearly, definitively, and loudly said, it is spelled GIF, spelled like gift, yet it's pronounced GIF.
What?
Just like Nike is Nike, not bike.
Right.
I agree with that.
Well, you've got to agree
So I
with
think
it. He
there's a degree-
invented it.
Oh, he didn't
Oh, you
invent
agree-
Nike, presumably.
You agree with
Oh,
the
okay.
Nike bit.
Oh, I see. No, the Greeks
so he
invented
said,
that.
Well, because it's named after a goddess, isn't it? And you don't
Yes, it's
get goddesses
Athene
called
Nike.
Nike. Greek.
Oh, Nike. Athene Nike.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm happy with Nike. But that is GIF, as that's thrown me completely.
yeah, why has he
That
done that?
reminds
He
me, but
invented it.
Well, I used to be in a band. I remember we were rehearsing in a sort of church hall. And there was a complaint about the noise from neighbours. And a policeman came round and he did a bit of community policing. He got sort of chatty with us, young lads. And he said, so how's it going? Have you done any jigs? And I wasn't, you're a teenager. I wasn't sufficiently confident to think, I thought maybe I'd been calling them gigs for ages and they actually are jigs, but I'm fairly confident that is not the case. But Jiff, that's thrown me.
Frank, that's like when that boy said to me, "Oh, she's really Zanny." I couldn't see him again.
No.
I couldn't do it.
Oh, dear Zanny.
We've also been told off a little bit. Do you want to hear this?
Yeah, fair enough.
This is from the Rant Man. So, in fairness, he's giving us a little heads up there.
He does a bit of telling off, I would imagine.
Dear Frank and team, praise of the show, flying ants, etc., etc. My message is to advise that you appear to have fallen into the Alanis Morissette ironic trap. For Clint Eastwood to be allergic to horses, something we referred to previously on the show, or for the new owner of Segway to drive off a cliff on his own device is not ironic. It is just plain unlucky. If the new owner of Segway had publicly stated that he'd bought the company because he thought that it offered the safest way to travel, now that would be ironic. Cheers, Stephen. Your witness, Frank Skinner.
OK, well, we'll come more of this after the break, I think.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We in the last link we were talking, someone was, I think he was called the Rant Man, was telling us off for misusing the word ironic.
Yeah.
One of the examples he gave that Clint Eastwood being allergic to horses is not ironic, it's just unlucky. I've got to challenge that.
Yeah,
Clint Eastwood is, along with John Wayne, I would say, in modern cinema, more associated with the Wild West than any other actor. And I think for the person who personifies the sort of a moody cowboy type figure, for him to be allergic to horses is ironic.
Well, if you...
Yes, I agree.
define irony, and I do, as the opposite of what is expected, I suppose, in some ways, that would be textbook irony. Thank you.
I would think. I mean, it's a good how I define it. I don't know exactly, but that to me, I agree that Alanis Morissette in her song lists a series of things.
The black fly and the Chardonnay.
It is a bit of a irony-free zone in parts. But Clint Eastwood being allergic to horses. What was the other one he chose?
The other one was the new owner of Segway driving off a cliff on his own device.
Okay,
he says is not ironic. It's just plain
tragic,
unlucky.
But I think the person who you could say is in control of Segway, then going over a cliff because he wasn't in control of a Segway is again, I think, qualifies as ironic.
I agree.
But tragic.
He is the person who brought the means of travel of the Segway, and if he was going to come a cropper to do with a form of travel, that it being the Segway, that is ironic, I think.
There you go. So that's sorted out. But thank you, Rant Man.
Rant Man.
Try again next week. Try harder.
I mean, it's a pity we can't go back to Rant Man for his own, I don't want to just close him down.
Rant Man, I mean, is he related to Scat Man? I also like the idea of him being interviewed by Jeremy Paxman. Mr. Rant Man, please.
I actually, I'm not a big fan of the rant as an entertainment thing. There are some people who sort of specialise in the rant.
Yes, in comedy, because it's kind of like an ongoing stream of consciousness thing where you talk about things and you talk about it more intricately and with more fervour, and then because it's to get an applause at the end, isn't it? That's the aim of it.
I would say the problem with the rant is that what people do with it is they talk very, very quickly, so there isn't time for the audience to laugh or not laugh at the things that they obviously intend as punchlines. So it's a way of using trajectory to hide behind because you don't want to lay your comedy out on the table for people to inspect more carefully. But you know what I don't want to do? I don't want to rant about ranting, because that seems it seems a bit upside down. If you know, it's ironic actually to be ranting about ranting. Phew, and I think it was T.S. Eliot that said it, my end is my beginning. Very flexible he was. Anyway, so is there any more on the pedants' revolt? Come on, that's a good joke. Hey, you wouldn't want to lose that, wouldn't want to waste that on a rant.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
So this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean, and Gareth Richards is here today. You can't text us because I'm afraid we're not live, sorry. But you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or email us via the Absolute Radio website. Now, we haven't really talked about anything that's in the news, apart from Mystic Britain, which...
Did you see?
I know we did do breaking news witches' shoes, and it turns out they were buckles of some sort, like Gary Barlow.
I think they wear, you know, those medieval pointed shoes that don't have anything. They're just like cloth.
Oh, of course I do. There's
and
no
they don't
base.
have laces, or yeah, exactly.
No base to those shoes.
What they are is they're a sort of a slightly bolshy sock.
Does some of the,
I think they wear that.
Does some of the Bruegel crew wear those?
Yes,
yes.
God, Bruegel's full of them.
I tell you what the Bruegel crew love. They love a shorty waistcoat. Oh, they love that. Don't
What's a Bruegel?
You know
Frank Skinner.
Bruegel, the artist?
Bruegel?
You know Bruegel?
No.
Bruegel, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This-
Look him up. It's,
Okay.
Breug, and then some say EL and some say HEL. You choose. Anyway, let's start over Bruegel the pudding. What's in the news that isn't about terrible things?
Well, did you hear about there's a 7-year-old boy called Samir Anwar from New Zealand, and he lost a piece of Lego up his nose in 2018.
Ah, yes.
And it's come out. 2 years later, it was up there.
It was. It's a great. It was on the BBC website, in a quite prominent position. This story. It said that it came out and it was covered in fungus.
Fungus, my eye.
Well, it's his nose. But I think that wouldn't be the end of it for me. If I took something out of my child's nose and it was covered in fungus, I think I'd want to get that checked out. There's some sort of fungal scrapyard up there. But they seem fine with it.
Business.
It was the hand, wasn't it, from the Lego, which is, I mean, they say hand, it's sort of a claw in the arcade game, the architecture of the Lego hand, isn't it? Which I've always personally felt rather sinister.
It's an iconic thing, though, the Lego hand. I hope they never change it.
Yeah.
This is a black hand, I think indicating a black gloved figure. I don't know, maybe that. I think in the Lego Alvin Stardust. is there one of those? If the world was perfect, it would be Mr. Han from Enter the Dragon. Because I don't know if you remember Enter the Dragon, but Mr. Han can take his hand off. He wears a black leather glove. He can take it off and put like a big knife on the attachment.
Oh,
So
I see.
that would be absolutely. I think couldn't Dr. No take his hand off as well?
Oh, could he?
I think he was another black leather glove.
But he could do stuff with it. What's this good for? Holding the cup in the car? I mean, there's not many uses for the Lego claw.
It suggests that he was using it as a littler hand because his actual hand didn't fit up his nose.
Oh, yeah.
to
that's-
properly get in there, but he was using the little Lego hand as a hand.
Right.
And he got
I,
lost.
I have lost, I would say, over the last 20 years, I've lost upwards of, well, at least a dozen contact lenses that have just gone up into my eye and never come
No.
out again.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So,
I mean, I've had them go back into my eye, but I've always got them out, Frank. I'm not sure. I don't think that's good news.
no, I've got most of them. I'm not counting the ones I've got out because, yeah, it's often if you rob a bit and wait a bit, but I'm on about ones that have.
That you never got out. How many did you
never-
say?
I don't know. I haven't. I'll have to check my journal. But, I would say upward of a dozen. If they came out in one piece. Now,
Great
now what about
Mermaid's
this for
Tale.
speaking of ironic, if they came out and I used them as a lanyard for my spectacles, so I had a contact lenses lanyard for my spectacles, would that or would that not be ironic?
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
We were talking during that song. I didn't realise how shocking it was that I've lost these contact lenses in
Yeah,
my
I'm quite
eye. I mean,
worried.
12 in 25 years. It's not too bad, is it?
Oh, I think
Well, I've been
one's
watching
quite
a lot-
bad.
I've been watching a lot of House with Laurie. What's his name? I can't
Hugh
remember
Laurie.
anyone's names. Hugh Laurie, and that's all about diagnosing strange medical conditions that no one can work out what's wrong with them. And this is an excellent episode of House. Someone
Well-
being rushed in. It turns out he's lost 20 contact lenses behind the back of his eye, and they've all gone rogue. Formed themselves.
Gareth was
Well, they've got-
suggesting that my brain is steadily being encased in a see-through cover.
I like the contact lenses have gone rogue, like a sort of cop who broke bad in a detective drama.
They've got to go somewhere.
There's probably
not
loads
Nick
of room
Rogue.
in there. Yeah, I think that when people have a glass eye, I think they have to clean out the back room of it, as it were. So I think there's a bit of space in there. I'm not worried about it, but if you carry on like this, I will be.
Do you know
I
what?
think there's some sort of. I actually think you can get your eyes cleaned. I think
Wow.
there's some sort of procedure where they can flush out the and like you say, there's all sorts of stuff back there, so it's a very good process.
I like
I've seen
to
it on
think that you
something,
lie
probably.
on a trolley, and it's like, you know, those car valet services. There's young men in overalls just scrubbing them all over you, rubbing your eyes and getting their fingers in the back with a bit of fairy liquid.
I have actually been looking for a fitting for our Dyson to put on to get around the back of the eyeball.
Do
They
you
should do a
find
very little attachment.
while we're on the car valet, boys, when you've had that, I tell you what I find awkward is when you have a drive-through arrangement. I know what I'm doing. They'll bang the bonnet. Okay, bit aggressive. Calm down, dear. I know what I'm doing. I drive through the various processes, and then we get to the end, which is the internal vacuum. That I find awkward because I obviously have to get out, and I just stand there feeling orcs, watching people cleaning aside.
the eternal of the car vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to
Yeah,
get
no,
out for
you
those,
shouldn't,
dear.
yeah.
Oh, do you not get out?
Yes, and then
I can't remember.
I don't think I've ever been for this sort of valet.
I've been in, you know, the old traditional car wash where they've got those big things with lots of, like those, I don't know what you'd call them. They look like big pom-pom sticks.
They're like
and you drive
giant
through
pipe
that.
cleaners with soap, yes.
It's like if you drove under the armpit of a giant mariachi guitarist. It's that kind of feeling. But you stay in the car for that, and it's very as when you're sitting in there.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something about Samir's father? Samir being the boy who lost the Lego claw up his nose. He's 7 now, so presumably he was 5 at the time. As parents, Tory MP, Can you two tell me, is that standard for 5? That question first to you, Gareth Richards.
What, children losing things up their nose?
Yes.
Yeah.
Frank Skinner?
Although,
Sorry.
I think in North London it happens, but it's Class A drugs. I'm glad to hear there's a bit of normality left in the world of people doing it with toys.
you know the technique that you're supposed to use? Because it says that he got a pearl up there before. And that, of course, the problem with this hand is that it's not, it's actually not an obstruction. So that'll be how maybe it got caught onto the moist wall of the nose. But if you get something stuck up, what you're supposed to do with the child, say like it's, a big pearl like they're saying, is what you're supposed to do is cover up the mouth and then blow into the other nostril. So that the child becomes like a peas shooter.
Don't try this at home.
No, that is what you're supposed to do.
I would have sent up a Lego fireman.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were talking about the little kid who had a piece of Lego up his nose for 2 years.
Samir.
Samir, yeah. Sophia, he should have been called.
Well, his father commented, and obviously they'd taken it to the GP and there'd been no sign of it. And I think the GP sort of reassured them it'll move through his, let's call it the digestive tract.
Yeah.
And he said there's no sign of distress, so it'll make its own way through. But I found one of the father's comments quite interesting. He said he's never complained or anything. He's quite a playful and mischievous character. Now, in my experience, that is sometimes, I'm not saying this is the case in Samir's particular instance, it is often a euphemism for the naughty children, I'm afraid.
Oh, is it?
The mischievous, very playful, spirited.
Might be. If he's getting stuff up his pearls and things like that up his nose, he might have calmed a little now. I should think it's been a salutary lesson.
What happened?
What they should have got, those orange lever things that they use on Lego for separating the bricks. Couldn't they have got one of those up there? They haven't thought it through, these people.
What they're through.
I'll tell you what I did learn recently, because my son is a big Lego enthusiast. And do you know it's a Danish company, Lego. You aware of that?
Yes, I knew it was from somewhere around there.
And do you know what Lego means?
Oh, shall we guess?
I heard this recently.
Let's both guess, see if we get it right.
Go on.
I'm going to say...
No,
brick.
you're gonna have to say.
Brick.
My
I've said
telepathy's
brick.
broken down.
I've said brick.
Brick.
Gareth.
Okay.
Doesn't mean build.
No, it's a bit cleverer than that. I forgot. It's Danish. It's based on the Danish phrase "leg goat," which means play well. But also Lego in Latin means I assemble. So it's a fabulous double whammy.
It's a Danish pun.
Yeah, but the worrying thing is their slogan, which I don't think I've ever seen on any Lego stuff. We've got a lot of Lego in the house. Is only the best is good enough. Now, that was a line from the Milky Bar Kids song.
Of course it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was,
Yes.
Only
the Milky
best
Bar
is
Kid
good
is
enough.
big and tough, and only the best is good enough.
Milky Bar.
It's like if my catchphrase was, hello, I'm Johnny Cash. You just can't, you can't just take them like that from anywhere.
I like the idea of I Assemble, which sounds like the COVID version of Avengers Assemble, possibly.
Yeah. Or something Transformers might say as they go into revert back into their original form. Got a few of them in the house as well, I might tell you. God, they're hard work. Well, I remember as a kid, I used to put coins in my mouth. Sometimes I would have like 6 or 7. I mean, basically just as a way of carrying them.
Oh,
rather than
Dracula
any-
money box.
Yeah, but
Probably
they
meet up with the contact lenses soon.
they have quite a distinctive taste.
They do.
Coins. Have you tried them?
Yeah. Metallic. Coiny.
They are a bit metallic. We shouldn't be shocked at that. You ever tried it, Em?
What do you think?
No, probably not.
Have you never tasted coins?
No.
What about those big chocolate coins from Pret? Now I've got you.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So, what else is happening with you, Gareth? We don't get a chance to see you that often. Let's dig in.
Yeah. No, I've been. Well, my mum. You know, my parents. You know, I had a very religious upbringing, and my mum and dad used to be very into Jesus.
Used to be.
But yes, well, they still are a bit, but mostly now my mum is into essential oils. They've gone very natural.
Okay.
Yeah. And my mum started foraging, which is a word. It's a very natural, holistic way of stealing. My mum loves a bargain.
Where does she forage? The body shop?
No, she does it outside. And so she's been researching all different foods that you can, stuff that grows just around that you can eat. So
I don't really know what essential oils are.
Oh, essential oils are what they do.
Can you
is
do
they
without
take
them?
Something like no, they're no, they're not essential. And what they do, so to make, they come from all different natural things. So basically, they take huge amounts of something like rose. So for a rose essential oil, they take like 1 trillion rose petals, crush it until oil comes out, put it in a tiny bottle, and then tell people it'll be really good if they rub it on themselves and it'll make them better.
It doesn't sound that environmental, considering it's a sort of a new agey thing.
No, that's one of the arguments, is that it's not actually very natural because you need a lot of raw material. And also my mum, I mean, she's quite gullible. And so she'll say, oh, frankincense. So she's got frankincense and stuff, which from the Bible, so she likes that. And she'll read in her little book about what it means, and it says, oh, this oil is really good if you haven't got a good relationship with your father. Which, I mean, is why they brought it to Jesus.
Yeah.
But
Gareth,
I'm not sure
sorry
we
to
can...
interrupt, but has Frank, would you ever do that and bring out a fragrance called that, Frank? Because you
What
must
frankincense?
Yeah, someone must have suggested that to you during
No,
the
I've never.
sort
No
of...
one's ever. I've always thought the celebrity fragrance thing is the wrong end of the celebrity thing. I'm never convinced that the celebrity has been into the factory and said, or maybe just a tiny bit more Parmesan. Whatever it is they put in stuff.
No, they haven't met the nose in grass. I believe
I don't. So, what are they...
Well, your fragrance would
what's their
probably
involvement?
smell of a factory, Frank.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's your vibe.
Swarfiga.
Meanwhile, back to Gareth's mother in the woods foraging around.
Yeah,
I did know a man, by the way, on that subject. He used to clean the lathes with trichoethylene. And we found out that he was... he used to keep a bit on his handkerchief. He used to really like it. It's really not a good thing to do it with.
Is it like a solvent?
So, yes, it made him very joyous, but I think it was quite bad. Anyway, sorry.
Back in the
Foraging.
woods.
Yeah, my mum has discovered that nettle seeds are edible. So she's been taking the seeds off nettles, and then the way she served them to me was she makes these protein balls that are made of like dates and stuff that are kind of supposed to be very healthy and a replacement for chocolate and sweets, which they are not. No. And so she rolled the protein balls in nettle seeds. And nettle seeds taste like waste ground. They really evoke nettles. What you imagine exactly what you imagine nettles taste like. That's what.
How much
they
did
taste
she
like.
sting you for that?
Oh, come on.
Do you see
See
why?
what you did there?
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We were talking about eating nettles.
Yeah, my mum's been foraging. All sorts of nonsense she's been feeding us. Have you seen? Did you see the news story about they've done a recipe for eating the whole head of a sunflower, like the whole thing, because it's all like, well, it's sunflower seeds, isn't it? The bit in the middle, and then I don't know if you do eat the petals, but yeah,
No.
what you do is you put it on a grill, you put oil on it from like
Sunflower oil.
Use the oil from. No, it was oil from sun-dried tomatoes.
So they don't use
And,
sunflower oil when they cook a sunflower.
Look, can I tell you what they do?
Are they worried about over sunflowering it?
This, this is what you do. You remove the flowers. You leave the pointy green triangles on the side. Whack it face down on the grill.
Pointy
cover
green
it with
triangles, what, leaves.
Yeah, you know they're always
Didn't know you were
pointy
a
though.
botanist, Em.
Then whack it down face down on the grill.
Oh, face
Cover with
down,
a lid.
That's horrible.
Leave to cook for 5 minutes. Smear all over in sun-dried tomatoes. Really get in there. Cover it with basil. Looks absolutely repulsive.
It's a strange. I'll tell you my problem is they're so fabulous, sunflowers, when they are just sunflowers. I don't really eat anything that's too beautiful. Do you know what I mean? I've eaten locust, but I wouldn't eat a hummingbird.
No.
Have you not?
No.
I've
tell
got
you what
a
I'd
bowl
quite
full
like.
right here with me now.
I'd quite like a hummingbird on a small lead, which I could use as a personal fan.
Oh, that's a
That's
great
nice.
idea.
That's the sort of thing the very rich probably did in the olden days. But there's some a bit. I don't know why. I know it's a flower, but it's something a bit cruel about it. It seems to me.
I think it's the face down thing, isn't it? I do
Face
imagine
down on the
sunflowers
grill.
having faces.
So cruel.
Is it the
And-
Vitalite adverts where they used to have faces for Vitalite?
sunflower.
Vitalite. Remember
But I
those?
remember that John Arlott, the old cricket commentator, wrote a book, I think, called Basingstoke Boy. And one of the stories he told in it was that a sailor had gone into a chip shop in Basingstoke and had a big argument with the owner. And the owner had thrown him in the deep fat frying thing.
Oh, gosh.
Extraordinary story.
That's what I thought of when I heard of the sunflower.
Oh.
And it's quite...
Goodness.
That was John Arlott's way of expressing that Basingstoke could be a bit tough in those days.
Did he batter him first?
I remember old guy in the pub came in with a load of flowers and he gave everyone buttonholes. And he gave one to my mate who was drunk and he handed him the buttonhole and my mate just ate it. And I remember the bloke was obviously a bit frightened. He's an old man. He tried to make the best of a bad job and he sort of said, yeah, that won't do you any harm. That's fine. Fine to eat. Awful moment. Anyway, I won't be eating that. Look, Gareth, it's been so good having you on. It's always a joy. I'm sorry we haven't met
Thank
in
you
the
for
flesh.
having me.
But we will tour eventually together. And thank you for listening. If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This